Hey everybody, my name is Lavanya and I'm going to be showing you a brief introduction into the two-color brioche stitch today. It's not a terribly hard stitch to do. It is helpful to have somebody walk you through it. So right now I've cast on my stitches already and I knit a plain round, and so I'm going to be starting my setup row. For this particular pattern I will be setting up in the same color I cast on. So my yarn is in the front and I'm going to purl a stitch as I normally would. Alright, this is if you are a thrower. Then with the yarn already in the front, I'm going to slip the next stitch purlwise, and the yarn comes around the needle to the front again to make a yarn over. And then I purl the next stitch. So a little bit closer, I'm going to show that again. So I've purled the stitch, yarn is in the front. I'm going to slip the next stitch, yarn comes all the way around the needle, and then I'm going to purl. Now if you are a continental knitter, you hold your yarn in this hand. The yarn is going to be in the front, you're going to slip purlwise, yarn comes over the needle to make a yarn over, and back to the front to purl. I'm not the best purler for continental knitting. So that's basically, so yarn comes to the front after the purl, slip purlwise, yarn over top of the needle, and then back into purling position. Okay, so after you've worked across your whole setup row, and as you'll see, you'll have a worked stitch, you slip a stitch with a slip and a yarn over, a worked stitch, a stitch with a slip and a yarn over. You will come to your marker, you're going to leave the yarn in the front after your last slip one yarn over, and we're going to join our second color. So on this row, we are going to be doing the brioche stitch. So in order to join my second color, I just lay the yarn between the two stitches with the tail hanging to the back, yarn to the front, and I'm going to, as before, slip this single stitch purlwise, yarn is in the front. Then I'm going to go into this next double stitch, the slip yarn over from the previous row, and I'm going to knit the two together. So when I knit those two together, that is the brioche knit. This is the slip one yarn over, that is the brioche knit. So then the yarn comes forward. You always want to bring the yarn to the front before you slip. Any variation of that will give you an extra bar of color and it's not going to come out right. So yarn comes to the front first, we slip purlwise, then into the next stitch as if to knit with the yarn in front, yarn comes over the needle to create the yarn over, and brioche knit. So now you see I have one of each color there, there's a brioche knit, one of each color there, brioche knit. Now if I'm continental knitting, the concept is kind of the same, yarn in the front, slip the stitch purlwise, the yarn comes over the needle to the back to then brioche knit those two stitches together. So yarn to the front, slip purlwise, yarn comes over the needle, and then we brioche knit those next stitches together. So then you're going to work all the way around, and then I will show you the brioche purl. Okay, so I'm at the end of my round, and I thought it would be a good idea to show you transitioning from one color to the other. So I'm just about done my first brioche knit round, I should say, and then I'm going to slip the stitch, and then I'm going to work the last brioche knit, and I'm going to bring this color to the front. Slide the marker. The brioche pearl color is already in the front. I'm just going to pick it up. You don't need to wrap the yarn, you don't need to do anything, you just pick it up. And your first stitch is going to be a brioche pearl, which if you see there, you have one of each color. The yarn is already in the front where it needs to be from the previous row, and you're going to purl those two stitches together. Yarn's already in the front, slip purlwise, yarn over, so it goes all the way around back into purling position, and then brioche pearl. Show one more time, yarn to the front, yarn over, brioche pearl. Now I'll show you as if you were a continental knitter. So yarn is in the front, I'm going to slip purlwise, yarn comes over the needle towards the front again, I go into those 2 color stitches, and then I brioche purl. So one more time, yarn is already in the front. I slip purlwise, yarn over top of the needle, back in the purling position. I go in and I purl those 2 stitches. And that is what it is going to look like. You're going to have a worked stitch and a contrasting color in a slip. Now I've worked across this brioche purl round, and I'm going to show you how to then transition back into your brioche knit round. So here I am at the last 2 stitches of my round. I'm going to brioche purl, slip the yarn in front, yarn over, I'm going to slide my marker. I'm going to leave that yarn in the front. This one is already in the front where it needs to be. I'm going to slip the stitch purlwise with the yarn in front, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to brioche knit. And that having that yarn in the front gives you that yarn over. So yarn forward, slip purlwise, and then brioche knit. Continental, yarn forward, slip purlwise, brioche knit. Yarn forward, slip purlwise, and brioche knit. So you can kind of already start to see the pattern being established there. It's reversible on both sides. You should basically always have a worked stitch followed by a contrasting color stitch with a yarn over. And this pattern is just going to repeat all the way through. Some patterns you're going to have increases and decreases. I recommend for beginning, just learn the basics, because from there, learning the increases and decreases, it's not terribly hard. It's really just about understanding how this stitch works. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps you a little bit. Thank you.